Hello, my name is Dr. Konstantin Schimmert, and this is my conversation with Ronald Sanford, aka Ariel, a man who is sitting in high-security prison since 1989 for a crime he committed when he was a 13-year-old boy. I would like to let you know that Ronald still has a technical issue. Still, his tablet has not been repaired. It's really a pity. It's now more than a month, and so our communication is very, very slow. We just write back and forward, but still there was some communication, and I would like you now to know our latest communication. I wrote him about a subject that is very delicate and we haven't really yet talked about. It is about his crime, about what happened when he was a 13-year-old boy, and I thought it's time to talk about it. And so I will read you now my letter, what I wrote to him, and he again already sent me also an answer to that, and I will read you also the answer. So, dear Ariel, I would like to let you know my thoughts and my first reaction when I learned about the crime that happened, that you have been involved, that you have committed when you were a 13-year-old boy. So my first reaction was, I felt deep compassion with everybody involved, including you. Compassion with the ladies, compassion with your friend, and compassion with the little boy, Ronald. Secondly, I want to tell you that I had hoped you will take a path of total honesty. I totally believe that is the only way to make healing possible. So I am proud on you and glad that you choose this path. I also want to tell you that I believe that every human being would be, in principle, potentially able to such deeds. There are so many factors and circumstances which lead to such an outcome. My thoughts go into two directions now. I can imagine that this is a big question for the adult Ariel, how it came to this uncontrolled violent outburst with the little 13-year-old Ronald. And probably you have dealt intensively with the question of what has become of this violent tendency in the adult Ariel. How did it transform into the wise and calm Ariel? What kind of energy did it change into? The second set of questions goes in a similar direction. I would very much like to know something about you, how you experienced the phase after the act. What you thought, what you felt. How did you experience the interrogations? How did you experience the court process? What were your first impressions in prison? First, probably in pre-trial detention and then in the maximum security prison. And then most importantly, how did you get on this path in your everyday life that you are on now? Who helped you along this way? What active choices did you make? Because I'm sure that you have made very active and powerful choices to move towards more awareness, more alertness, love, and good common sense. All the best, Konstantin. So Ariel answered me on this letter, and he didn't answer all my questions, but at least some of them, and so I would like to read his answer. Ariel answers. What has become of the violent tendency? What has become of the violent tendency is a question foundational to the whole issue of whether or not I have been rehabilitated and the potential risk to public safety should I be released back into society. Violent tendencies don't simply disappear or miraculously morph into positive traits and characteristics. They don't pack up and leave, taking all the carnage, destruction, and extended remnants of past tragedies from one's mental landscapes with them. Not at all. Instead, those thoughts, resembling the electrical signature of countless others, having once been used, thought, and being essentially the food of the system, are now part and parcel of the underlying infrastructure. In looking for the thoughts of aberrant behavior intending so jettison them from the building, there is no demarcation, one thought from another, except those which are being used in the microfractions there accessed. Purging the mind of large swaths of inimical psychic material is not easily accomplished without professional assistance or learned individuals, and runs the risk of stripping out potentially consequential sections of the infrastructure. What has to be done is to first recognize the tendency and then triggers cause the thoughts to manifest. By doing so, we began the all-important step of paying attention to when and how the literal monster frees himself from his cage of the mind. This then basically places an observer, a sentinel if you will, on guard to specifically deal with this issue before it becomes detrimental to anyone else in the public. My ability to not act, to do nothing, to pause, to simply be still in the moment of highest sensation is the key to the power. I have not removed violent tendencies from my persona. I like to think I've put them to sleep under the watch of a mindful sitter. Violence and being violent are actions requiring outputs of physical energy. In my head, violence is impotent. It's invalid. It can't muster a start even, or that it will be the extent of it, due to the necessary checks and balances put in place to prevent any future unforeseen consequences. Additionally, as much as I can, I enter interpersonal relationships with as much love as I can cognitively muster. I say cognitively because admittedly my ego tends to hog the stage, at times exercising its prerogative, and I'm not mindful of where my thought process has ventured. How did it translate into the wise and calm Ariel? And what kind of energy did it change into? I kind of alluded to what has been the most transformative of my mind and body. They are love and self-observation. I got to know where I'm at, what you're doing, Ariel. Michael Jackson said it. It's the man in the mirror. He holds the reins of our salvation journey. Undertaking the greatest, most profound test of my life has been both frightening and enlightening. Frightening in that I learned it was of the utmost imperative that I utterly assail the illusion I currently identify with as me, myself, or I. I learned there were a collection of critics, eyes, if you will, each with its own vested interest, loosely associated in control or of the sense response of my body. My true self being simply a passenger providing the energy source by which desires and impetus were exercised, materially was never going to result in the radical transformation that would save my life. Nevertheless, the amazing aspect of the story is there was a method whereby one could begin the process of regaining control of the collective influenced by conditions and actions. This is where new energy was useful, the power to resist self-satisfaction, to resign the impulse, is a refining fire like none other. The power to resist self-satisfaction, to rescind the impulse, is a refining fire like none other. And then there is a final note. To try to head for nirvana by getting rid of afflictions is like removing forms to look for shadows. So this is, I think, a very, very deep text. I think we should listen to it more than one time to really understand what he means, and it shows us what a complex and deep thinker Ariel is, and I'm very impressed by that. As you know, I'm a trained philosopher, so it's for me really a big joy to listen to these words, to read these words from Ariel. And again, I want to tell you, there is no justification for a crime, not at all. But, you know, I'm convinced that no one in the world can claim to be able to resist temptation under all circumstances. So I think it is important that we are able to forgive. And I think we should be able to forgive a 13-year-old boy after 30 years, 35 years. So I would like to close with a little citation from the Bible when Jesus says, "Whoever is without sin, let him be the first to throw a stone at it." So, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for supporting us. Again, I would like to tell you, please support this case. Please give a donation on GoFundMe.com. Please share this with others. Please follow this channel. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the bell. Thank you very much and take care.